Which one would you rather be? Do you want to be able to inspire and move people where you actually want them to go, to your vision, which you should communicate every so often? Or do you want to lose points as a leader, where people will say that he doesn't really believe what he's trying to say, he's not sincere enough, I don't feel he's sincere, and I'm not gonna believe it. I'm not gonna go along with this. I'm not committed to this. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Sean here, aka Mr. CEO at 22. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you will be given a notification or a heads up every time we publish something new in the channel. For today, we are going to be talking about how communication makes you an effective or a more powerful leader. And we're going to be wrapping this up with just 5 points. That's it. That's all we have. It's 5 points. The first one being, when you communicate, you have to communicate authentically. Be an authentic communicator, because people can read crap from a mile away now. If you're just winging it, if you're not being authentic, if you're not really sincere about what you're trying to say, if you're not really being as honest as you can be, you don't really believe what you're saying, people can detect that nowadays. People are actually smarter, especially your team, being somewhat familiar with you. Depending on how closely you work with them, they will be able to tell if you're not authentic with what you're trying to say, if you're insincere with what you're trying to say. And the downside here is, if you're inauthentic, you haven't really bought into some of the things that you are saying, then they're not going to be buying in to everything that you're saying. You see, every time you communicate as a leader, there's only 2 things that can happen. Number 1 is you actually move people to the way you want them to go, and they move along with you. And number 2 is you lose leadership creds. You lose points about yourself, and people are not gonna go along with you. Which one would you rather be? Do you want to be able to inspire and move people where you actually want them to go, to your vision, which you should communicate every so often? Or do you want to lose points as a leader, where people will say that he doesn't really believe what he's trying to say, he's not sincere enough, I don't feel he's sincere, and I'm not gonna believe it. I'm not gonna go along with this. I'm not committed to this. And authenticity plays a big part in how you communicate as a leader. The second point of how you can communicate powerfully and effectively as a leader is you have to explain the context. You have to keep telling people the why behind things. Why am I saying this? Why should you get to know this? Why should you move along with what I'm saying? Why should you commit? So one example is, recently we decided to go for a 3-day work week instead of a 2-day work week. We are doing a hybrid working environment, but we believe that the best work we produce is when we are actually around each other. Having that camaraderie, having that better morale, because we're able to talk with each other, shake each other's hands, and it's so easy for us to be able to ask, hey, how are you doing? This is super important for me and my team, because the culture is strengthened around the bond between team members. If I did not explain this why, and I just said to the team, hey, you know what? I think that it's important for us to come to the office 3 days a week, and that's it. Or maybe I could tell them a little bit about it. I'll just tell them because I want to see you guys, and I don't explain the rest, that it's actually good for our culture, good for our morale. It's actually what separates us from our competitors. It's actually what makes us the best and number 1 here in the Philippines in the SEO realm. Then people will not buy into what I'm trying to communicate. Then people will not commit. The more people who don't buy into what you just said, the weaker your momentum will be. So as much as possible, you would want to explain why you're saying things and clarify everything that you can possibly clarify, all nooks and crannies, to your people in the team, so that they can figure out for themselves in a clear, concise way in their minds if they wanna jump on the train or not. And that leads us to our third point on how you can communicate powerfully as a leader, and that is transparency. Now, this is different from authenticity, because transparency is all about over-communicating, not really being sincere. Yes, you gotta be sincere. That's authenticity. Transparency is about over-communicating, saying things that make you feel naked in front of the crowd. That means that there are some things you're not so comfortable sharing with other people. There are some things that you feel that might be misconstrued or might be misinterpreted by some people, and they will be turned off and taken aback. And for these things, sometimes there are people who need to hear these things in the crowd as well, and that would go a long way if you actually communicate that with them. So let's go with the example of the 3-day work week. I chose to tell people that it's not just expensive for everyone to come to the office because you're gonna be paying for your commute, you're gonna be paying for meals here in the office, but it's also expensive for the company itself because we actually have to open the office and pay for all the electricity, pay for the coffee beans, pay for the toilet paper, the water, and so on and so forth. And I also chose to say that we are committed to actually raising everyone's salary. I don't think any business owner here, especially if it's a Filipino-Chinese business owner, will say that to their people, right? Because salaries are a direct output or expense from your company's net revenue. But I chose to say it. That is over-communicating, that is being transparent, and that goes a long way because now people are thinking, oh, okay, this guy is gonna take care of me, even if he is asking us to go here with all of the inflation happening, with all of the gas prices going up, this person is going to take care of us. The company is going to take care of us. They care about us. They discussed raising of the salary right here in this town hall meeting where other companies would not dare say anything about salary raises, right? That is being transparent, and people do appreciate that, especially with millennials and centennials, the younger generation. We appreciate transparency. The fourth way for you to communicate powerfully or effectively as a leader is you choose your audience. There are things that you have to just communicate to some select few of people sometimes. You cannot involve everyone. What do I mean? So in SEO Hacker, we have probationary employees and we have regular employees. And they're separated, and then we have the team leaders, and then we have the team representatives. They're different kinds of people. There are some things that I can only communicate to regular team members because probationary team members are not yet going to be affected by these changes. You have to choose your audience. You can't really communicate everything to everyone all the time. There are leaders who are just so pumped that they just say stuff to everyone in the wrong time, right? So you gotta have timing involved, and you gotta have the right audience involved, and make sure sometimes it's just the right audience in the room. It might be the right things to the right people, but if you involve the wrong people in the room along with the right people, even if you say the right things there, but it's the wrong thing to some people, it's gonna backfire on you. And that's sometimes how gossip starts and spreads if you do it that way. This is also applicable to when you're trying to reprimand someone. When someone does something wrong, make sure to take that person aside privately, have a one-on-one chat with that person, and tell that person, this is what you did, and this is why it's wrong, and this is why it's bad, and this is how much it damaged our team, our organization. Please don't do that again. Or if you have a retraining course, tell them, go through retraining. If you don't do that and you reprimand this person publicly or in front of his or her team, that will damage you as a leader because now people are going to be thinking, oh, this guy is going to reprimand publicly. If I make a mistake, then that's what's going to happen with me. So what happens is people will never want to make a mistake. And what happens because of that is it limits your organization because mistakes are part of innovation. Failures are a part of success. You cannot split the two. You cannot take failure out of success. You make so many failures and mistakes that you figure out how it is to be successful. That's what life is about. That's how you become successful in life. And lastly, our fifth point in how you can communicate more powerfully is simply listen more. You see, communication is a two-way street. It's not a monologue. We don't say you should monologue as a leader. We say you should communicate as a leader. And communication is a two-way thing. It's actually building relationships. Relationships will not grow when only one party keeps talking all the time and the other party just listens. Relationships grow and flourish when there is communication happening, meaning it's two-way. Someone speaks, someone listens, and vice versa. You take turns and you get to understand each other more and you get to know the context of why more. And you notice the best marriages are actually the marriages that practice what we just talked about right now. If you're authentic to your spouse, if you're transparent, you over-communicate, they know you're sincere. In a husband and wife context, we explain why. If we get mad, if we have a conflict with our spouse, we tell them why. It's so important to do that. Why are we not doing that for everyone in our team? Everything we discussed here is actually so simple, but it's also very, very true. And you can practice it in your organization and especially in relationships that you have in your life. Maybe with your spouse, your partner, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your children, your siblings. Practice this kind of communication. That relationship will improve 100%. Now, listening is so important because you wouldn't want to always be the one talking. You can only really paint the context well and explain why if you listen enough. This is why you should start meetings and town hall gatherings by asking questions. Maybe before the town hall meetings, you ask questions to a group of people, certain teams in your company, and you've heard them out and you've considered what they think before you go ahead and give that meeting and give that talk. And when people have reactions, listen to them. Consider that. I'm not telling you to be subservient to them. You are the leader. You are the leader for a reason and purpose. And at the end of the day, it's your neck on the line. It's you who's gonna be thrown under the bus if you make a wrong decision. I'm not saying follow everything they're saying. All I'm saying is listen to them, make sure they feel heard, and make sure you consider their thoughts, and then respond to them, explain to them, tell them why, especially if you made a decision contrary to what they expressed to you. So to wrap things up, I hope you realize how important it is to communicate well and effectively in your organization as the leader. Because if you don't communicate well, it damages your organization, you lose trust. And if you lose trust, people get more toxic, there's more politics that's going to go on in your organization, and you'll be less and less successful in your projects, in serving your clients and customers. But if you communicate powerfully, if you practice it in your team, you're going to be building trust, you're going to be building unity, there's going to be less to minimal to no gossip in your team, no toxicity, no politics. It's going to be a dream team for you to work in, and you're going to find so much pleasure leading that team, and finally, you're going to have huge headway towards success. Now, my challenge for you is, as we wrap things up, ask your team how well you listen and communicate to them. Just ask them, hey, is there something I can improve with how I communicate to everyone in the organization? Or is there something I can improve in my listening to people in the organization? Do I listen enough? Right? Just ask that simple question from your team. Take note how they answer, write these things down, and try to see, are you an effective communicator and where you can improve? I hope that helps and that adds value to you. And if it did, please do help us by sharing this episode with a friend, colleague, maybe your team leader, maybe a family member. And if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button, the like button, and the bell notification icon so that we can serve you by sending you the latest videos here on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify, hit that follow button. That helps us a ton. Again, this is Sean, aka Mr. CEO at 22, and I will see you on the next episode.